all of our audience at home to kind of take note of is that the results should be treated as provisional for now, because after this, we're going to be taking a break. And in that time, the stewards are going to be reviewing some of the protests that are going to be coming in from the drivers. So there may be some penalties doled out. It depends on what the situation is. Hopefully, that wouldn't happen too much. So we're going to be able to stick with the results that we're seeing on screen here. But again, the final confirmation for this will only happen after the break.
Yeah, and we will consider showing. Excuse me. We will continue to show you guys as much of the results as we can, but only after the protest. Mainly because that we do not want to be giving you an information and then it just changes up. So we want to give you the finalized information. But then again, there's still going to be like how Victor has just said that there is going to be changes within the results, considering that protests are going to come into play during the break time. So we are going to go on a 10-minute break after this. But moving forward here, Victor, what other stray observations have you made in race number 1, and what kind of will those observations carry on to race number 2?
Okay, so the thing is, Woikit finished in second place here, and if he keeps that position, that means that when we come into race 2, where it's going to be reverse grid, Woikit is actually going to be starting in front of Touch Aiman. Now, this is going to create an interesting thing here, because if Woikit can actually show that he can actually stay in front of Touch Aiman throughout race 2, that should certainly guarantee that he will be able to creep up in the championship standings when it comes to points, especially if Woikit somehow is going to be able to take the win in race 2. But that still remains to be seen. So we're going to be seeing that hopefully pretty soon after once we get started into race 2.
And I'm looking forward to that. And I hope that you guys who have stayed with us from the beginning of race number 1 are looking forward to that as well. For those of you who just joined us, we would like to apologize, as race number 1 has been done and dusted, and everything is in the books in terms of times as well as the winners. Stay tuned for race number 2 as we head into the Red Bull Ring right after this. Don't you dare go anywhere.
In my life, got the drive like never before.
If you wanna feel alright, inspiration is your mind. Gotta excite your daily life. In my life, got the drive as never before.
Yeah, they tell me that I got ambition.
I got ambition.
Hard work is just the definition.
The definition.
You know I gotta make my mission.
In my life, got the drive as never before.
Give everything I got with all I do. When motivation's there, I gotta move. Because I love my life, I'm all about the drive as never before. As never before, hey. As never before. Yeah.
As never before. As never before. As never before. As never before.
good result here. A long freedom hole, finishing ahead.
We've always pushed the limits to make ever better cars, to never stop innovating, to learn from the toughest challenges under the most extreme conditions. In these extraordinary times, we continue to learn about our people, our friends, our family. When this is over, we will all be closer, and together we will be back, faster and stronger than ever before. Toyota Gazoo Racing, pushing the limits for better.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. This is the Toyota Gazoo Racing Velocity Esports Championship 2019, brought to you by UMW Toyota Malaysia and Co Esports. It is going to be 70,000 ringgit prize pool that's up for grabs. It is racing!
Arun Roswan having a very good start there. He's going to be starting on the front of the grid right now, pushing towards the end there. They're going to have the brake hard. They're going to be cutting it pedal to pedal, but it looks like he's going to run through it. It's not dead. No! Will Rio be able to make it though? He still has the 0.1 seconds. He will come across the line. Will he make it? No!
He lost it, man. 657 total racers have fought against each other, and now it's time to separate the chaff from the wheat, and it's going to be something of an interesting day.
Salving these five will potentially be your grand finalists. Going up alongside your Hafiza, hacking back like oh yeah, he's going for it. He's going for the win here, but no, he's going to go for the name of the retire. What a race that is going to the end. Alvin was able to get second place based on the slowdown from the arm.
Toyota, all about the drive.
In my life, got the drive like never before.
If you wanna feel alright, inspiration is your mind. Gotta excite your daily life. In my life, got the drive as never before.
Yeah, they tell me that I got ambition.
I got ambition,
Hard work is just a definition.
the definition.
You know I gotta make my mission.
In my life, got the drive as never before.
Give everything I got with all I do. When motivation's there, I gotta move. Because I love my life, I'm all about the drive as never before.
As never before. As never before. As never before. As never before.
So you wanna feel alright? Inspiration hits your mind. Gotta excite your daily life.
In my life, got the drive as never before. As never before. As never before.
In my life, got the drive.
Never before.
result here, along with Freedom Hole finishing ahead.
We've always pushed the limits to make ever better cars, to never stop innovating, to learn from the toughest challenges under the most extreme conditions. In these extraordinary times, we continue to learn about our people, our friends, our family. When this is over,
And welcome back to the Toyota Gazoo Racing Online Challenge, where we have invited the top 10 sim racers from across Malaysia. They will be racing not only for bragging rights, but also for a share of the 3,000 ringgit prize pool. Before we begin, we'd like to thank our organizer, Toyota Malaysia, our sponsors, Toyo Tires, Denso, Toyota Racing Development, as well as our event partners, NK, Drive, Energy Drink, and of course, Motis. Welcome back with me, Nick Harris, alongside Victor Ang, who are going to serve as your commentary team for race number 2 here at the Toyota Gazoo Racing Online Challenge. Welcome back, Victor. It's great to have you back, and hope that 10-minute time, that 10-minute break was sufficient enough for all the protests to be done and dusted, and we already have the tabulated score. So, Victor, what did you bring for us here?
What do I bring for you guys? I mean, I'm also waiting for the results here, so let's see what the results are going to be. Well, 10 minutes break was definitely enough for them to tabulate points, and yep, looks like Touch is going to stay in P1, so he takes away the maximum amount of points, 25 points here. Lau Wicket will be taking 18 points. Mior Muhammad Hafiz will be taking 15. Hakim taking 12. Muswan Ching taking 10. So it looks like there hasn't been any changes in positioning as far as it looks like. So looks like the finishing results at race number 1 still maintains for now, but then we're going to be going into race 2 very, very soon. So some special mentions here. We're going to be where Iwadi is. Iwadi, who remember was fighting for P5, got dropped all the way to the back here. He at least managed to climb back up to P8. That's going to allow him to take 4 points in the championship. So little consolation prize, but certainly he's going to be thinking a lot about this second race because, again, race number 2 is going to be run in a reverse grid. So the finishing positions of race number 1 determines the starting positions for race number 2. So Chao Jin Ye is going to be starting in P1. Daniel Boone will be starting in P2. And then Irwadi is going to be starting in P3. So it looks like we're going to be going into the Red Bull Ring. They're going to be racing in the Toyota TS030 Hybrid, which is the version of the LMP Le Mans car. So this is going to be very, very interesting here because the Toyota TS030 is designed for top speed as well as maneuverability, and this is certainly going to suit the car very, very well, given the Red Bull Ring is generally a very fast track. So fast, in fact, that a single lap on the Red Bull Ring is actually very, very very, very short. So you're going to be seeing a lot of these drivers just go across the line very, very frequently. And hopefully, given that they're going to be driving a hybrid LMP car, that they're also going to be able to manage not only the tires, but also the battery levels. So looks like we're going to be taking a flying lap through. So you can see the beautiful Toyota TS030 coming across it. The first turn there, it's going to be uphill, a little bit blind on the exit, but drivers are able to attack it very aggressively, just like this driver has done here. It's going to be able to get a good exit out into the next straight. Then going to be coming into turn number 2. This is a little bit of a medium low speed corner that's going to force the drivers to slow down quite a bit before inevitably they're going to have to reaccelerate again into turn 3. So now it's going to be this section here is going to be very much one of control here because the exit coming out of turn number 4 here, they're going to have to modulate their throttle response quite well here because they're going to have to set themselves up for this next section here where they're going to be going through 2 apexes before finally culminating into the chicane, where I think very likely a lot of drivers are going to attempt to make some moves around that point. And finally going to be coming into the final sector very soon. The are very, very fast, very, very tight, and drivers have to be very, very precise in how they judge their lines here. But if they just nearly just right, they should be able to come across the line with a blistering fast lap time.
Very, very interesting breakdown there, Victor. Thank you very much for your technical expertise. What's really important to note here for the Red Bull Ring is mainly the amount of turns that they have, which is about 8 turns in total, with a lot of long straights, which definitely gives a lot of, which definitely gives highlight towards the acceleration, the speed, and the dexterity that the Toyota TS030 hybrid brings to the table. And I believe that the potential of the vehicle will definitely be realized in a track like the Red Bull Ring. Definitely going to be very interesting to see how some of these races are going to be adjusting with the change of vehicle. And it does add a very interesting dynamics here, because when you change your vehicle, it does add a little bit more dynamics in terms of how they're going to be attacking some of the chicanes, how they're going to be attacking some of these turns. And in terms of the Red Bull Ring, it does allow quite a bit of max speed overtakes, and the amount of space that they have between themselves, to overtake is definitely evident in the long straights. But heading into some of the sharp turns, like the turns number 2 and the 5th and 6th turn here, as well as the 4th turn for the Red Bull Ring, definitely allows for some really interesting situations where aggressive driving could be rewarded. In terms of what you have observed for the Red Bull Ring thus far, in terms of the Red Bull Ring, what do you think? Where do you think we're going to see most of the action take place, Victor?
Overtaking moves, like, they're still going to be most likely in the second sector. Like, again, that's where the speed of the cars will just slow down a little bit more. There's a little bit more precise driving to be had here, especially around Rauch and Worth which is turns 4 and 5. So the thing is that the exit coming out there towards the final sector is definitely going to be the point where most of the drivers will try to make their overtaking moves. It's a very long straight before they're going to have to brake for the final 2 turns. So that if they are able to set themselves right in the second sector, they should be able to get a good overtaking opportunity by the time they reach the final corner. So, but the other thing to note over here is that, compared to race number 1, where they're racing on the Supra, the 2020 Supras, the Toyota TS 030 hybrid actually has a lot more downforce, and that's going to help a lot, especially attacking some of the higher speed sections here in the Red Bull Ring. And this also means that they pretty much will be able to use that to their advantage, especially through the medium speed corners, where they can start getting on the gas a little bit earlier. They can actually carry a lot more momentum through the corners. And certainly on a track like the Red Bull Ring, that's pretty much your MO in order to be able to get a good flying lap here, especially during qualifying.
Beautifully broken down for us by my wonderful co-caster, Victor Ag. And I do believe that there is going to be quite an interesting amount of drama here, considering that the high speeds could actually create a very interesting atmosphere for a lot of these drivers, considering that race number 1 did reveal quite a bit of interesting aggressive driving from some of these sim races. And I do believe that heading into the Red Bull Ring, it does create an element of danger, I suppose, for some of these drivers in quite a bit of risk, especially heading into these really sharp turns. Victor, do you agree with me on that?
Well, I mean, the thing is that the Red Bull Ring has been notorious, especially during this recent F1 season, of having very aggressive curbs. I'm not sure how that's going to be replicated in the Gran Turismo Sport version of the Red Bull Ring, but certainly if that is represented in this game here, that does mean that going over the curbs will actually have a tendency to kind of throw your car into a bit of situations where it might actually go off balance, because aggressive curves basically means that your cars wouldn't be able to get maximum traction, especially on the entries as well as the exit of the corners. So this means that drivers will have to be very careful in how much they decide to cut the corners, not say cut the corners, but actually how much of the track space they want to try to utilize here, because ideally they want to stay on the just stay off the curves as much as possible, but again, the thing is that in Gran Turismo Sport, I don't know if the curbs are that aggressive. If it isn't, that means that you're going to be seeing a lot of these drivers, use that to their advantage, just constantly keeping 2 sets of tires off the asphalt, and actually try to get a much wider line to just keep their top speed pretty high through most of these corners.
Is it Is it fair to say that compared to Laguna Seca, the race line for Red Bull Ring allows a little bit more in terms of space, or could we see a little bit more of a tighter formation of vehicles trying to attack some of these race lines heading into the Red Bull Ring, Victor?
I think, yeah, I think given the type of car we're gonna have, we're definitely gonna see a lot more like tighter, like less variation. I think compared in the racing lines, because unlike the Supras, again, like I said, there's a lot more aerodynamics with this car, a lot more downforce that the drivers will utilize. But that means that the ideal racing line is everyone's just going to follow that as much as possible. You know, they're not going to try to deviate too much for that. But I think what's going to be interesting to see is how they're going to be able to utilize the slipstreams in here. Because again, given the higher amount of downforce, they can certainly find a lot more grip than they normally would with the Supra, which means that if they are able to actually time their braking points pretty right, they should be able to get a much tighter turning circle, and that should actually allow them to set up much better like exits coming out of certain corners like Rimas or like Schloss Gold. But yeah, so but basically, I think like the way you're going to be driving on this track is going to be very different compared to race one, and I'm going to be interested to see how some of the drivers here, especially some of the newer guys, are going to be able to tackle this challenge here, because it's certainly while it's not like a completely different thing, it's still enough of a variation that you have to kind of like suit. You have to kind of change your driving style to kind of suit this condition.
In terms of your prediction for early pitters, are we going to see more early pitters like we did for Laguna Seca, or are we going to see us basically pit a little bit more towards the mid stages of the race? Judging from what you've seen thus far, Victor.
Well, it's going to be a bit hard for me to say for sure, but what I can tell you though is that race number two is going to have a higher rate of simulation X in race one to 12X. But given that Red Bull Ring is generally quite fast, I'm not too sure how this is going to affect their tire wear. We're pretty sure that we're only going to find out once we actually get into the race. But I think like it's quite likely that most of these drivers are going to go for two stop strategies that we saw in race one, because it seems like being able to pull out long stints is no longer a desire. Being able to keep the tires pulling for beyond their stint is no longer a valid strategy here in Gran Turismo Sport. So now the tire wear is definitely going to be a big factor once they're actually starting to strategize on when and where they're going to pit.
Well, speed and dexterity is what the Toyota TS030 hybrid is known for. So do you believe that with that added speed, as well as considering that fuel consumption is going to be an issue here, considering that the more they accelerate on it, the more fuel consumption that they're going to take in, is it going to basically be the signifier for more pit stops for some of these players? Or do you feel that one pit stop is going to suffice in this entire race as we are gearing up for our round two qualifiers, Victor?
I don't think that the one pit stop thing will work here necessarily, because again the tire wear setting is quite high. So I'm still thinking that most of these drivers will still go for the two pit stop strategy. So the question is only like, are they going to be able to keep up a good pace with the medium and hard compounds, or do they still have to stick to the soft compounds in order to keep up with the rest of the field? So that's still the kind of thing that I think will only start to show itself once we actually get into the qualifying session and actually get into the race. But another thing to kind of consider as well is that given that this is going to be reverse grid, that means that a lot of drivers will be a little bit more aggressive, I think, going into turn one, because they really want to try to make up as much position as they can, especially those that are going to be in the back of the pack. So in the lobby, and the drivers are just going to be warming up a little bit, just getting themselves familiarized with the car's handling, as well as what they have to watch out for as far as the track's concerned in this race.
Considering the size of the vehicle here of the Toyota TS030 hybrid, I mean, we did see quite a more ergonomical design for the Toyota GR Supra RZ 2020. So do you feel that that's going to play into factor here moving forward?
It's quite funny that you say it's large because the car is actually kind of small. Like the car is only about the same size as the Supra. It only looks huge because of the way that the bodywork is built. But if you look at the tires there, the tires are actually quite big in proportion with the rest of the car. So if you actually see real world pictures of this car, it's actually very, very small. You'll be surprised when you see it in person.
Yeah, I do believe that I was a little bit thrown off by the projection of it, but we are gonna go underway here, and it's going to be lights out and full throttle in a few more seconds as we do hear the revs of the engines, and they are gonna get ready here. Ladies and gentlemen, there we go, and it's lights off and flag out as we see the race has begun, and we do see quite a bit of collision here pretty early on, a little bit of force out of the way here, as we do see some of these races are going to be starting off very aggressively and very high speeds, and it goes to show that we did predict it quite right. It is going to be a very high pace, high adrenaline race right out of the first Niki Lauda curve. It is going to be a fairly long straight with a slight curve, a slight bend at the end just before the Remus turn at the second turn of the entire track. So it is going to be quite high speed before they have to brake quite hard heading into the Remus turn before going onto the Schwarzgold.
Yeah, so the drivers still, you're starting to see they're starting to spread out a little bit here, and again, this is the consequence of the track being so fast that you really have to really step on it, or at least get into the slipstream here. You want to have any chance. But I have to say, Irwadi had such a good start there. Like he was literally slingshotting his way through the front row at the start of the race there, and that definitely putting himself in a really good position to try to defend this lead here. So now only Kachun is going to be close behind him, Ritwan right behind him, as we're going to be going across the line here. So 1, 2, and 3. Fourth place going to be by Swanjing, fifth place by Hazik. Then we'll see who's going to be in sixth place. So the thing is that now at this point, it's all going to be about management. It's going to be how well you're going to be able to manage your tires. You're not necessarily going to be able to find situations where you can creep up to them easily unless you're on a much better tire strategy compared to your rival.
And that's going to be very interesting indeed, as they are going to be heading off towards the next turn. And before that, there is going to be quite a bit of straights here before they head into the Schlossgoal as well as Route and Worth curve. And that's going to be very interesting indeed, as it is going to build up quite a bit of speed here. And they may have to be very, very wary of the acceleration. Oh, a little bit of collision there coming in from towards Hakim from Taj Ayman. A little bit of a love tap there pretty early on from Taj Ayman towards Hakim, but it is not going to come into detriment towards Hakim. However, Taj Ayman will have to check his collision pretty much heading forward here, as we do see that Irwadi as well as Kachun, Ridwan, Shwan, and Wicked are going to be making up our top 5, whereas it's going to be Hazik, Amir, and Hakim that are going to be fighting off. We don't see that much of separation of distance between a lot of these drivers. However, we do see Irwadi right now looking towards getting a big lead forward here, as Hazik at 6th position right now, trying to catch up between himself and Shwan and Wicked that are ahead of him. And there could be a fight here between Shwan and Wicked for position number 4 here, as Wicked is adding a little bit of pressure towards Shwan moving forward.
Yeah, I remember Wicked started second last from the grid there, given that he finished in second in the first race. So the fact that he's already able to climb up to P5 is quite impressive on its own. But then the P10, but that certainly means that the higher up that the Wicked is going to be able to finish, the better chances of him actually catching up to Taj in the championship points right now, because I think they're only separated by, was it about 7 points? So I'm pretty sure that if Taj Ayman is not going to be able to make up any more places here, especially given the fact that he actually has Muir in front of him, he's going to be having a hard time trying to defend his championship going into race 3.
And that's going to be very interesting indeed here. It could be rather detrimental towards his point lead as we are heading forward. We do see that there is quite a bit of stiff competition between a lot of these drivers here, but we do see that there is going to be quite a distance that is being built up towards our top 3 leaders here. With the amount of distance between themselves, I do believe that there is going to be a very interesting amount of weight that is going to be put on to the pit stops that you have mentioned during our breakdown of the track, that could actually play into some of the leads and the distance being closed up here. And considering that two pit stops are going to be in order here, considering that we are heading with 5 more laps compared to the 19 laps that we face in Laguna Seca, it does foreshadow a little bit of urgency in terms of the pit timings that they have to put into consideration. And it seems that our second place leader here, Kachun, has taken in a rather interesting penalty here. I'm not entirely sure how much time penalty that he is going to be facing, but
It's
he has
a 1
to shave
second.
off. Excuse me?
Yeah, it looks like it was 1 second penalty. I think it must have cut the track at some point, and that's going to spell some trouble for him for sure. Because Ridwan is very, very close behind him. If Kachun has to remove that penalty before the end of the race there, so he's going to have to think very carefully about where he wants to try to get rid of that. But I think he's definitely feeling a lot of pressure there from Ridwan from behind. In the meantime, Hazik though, he's starting to try to make some moves here on the Swanjing, but again, the Red Bull Ring has a lot of straights here, so most of the time he's going to try to just use a slipstream here and try to hopefully set himself for a good exit. But Swan Jing, though, he's been doing pretty well to defend here, actually blocking up Hazik, preventing him from being able to get past. I just wonder if Swan Jing is actually on a harder compound. I can't quite tell from the telemetry, the HUD over here what tire compound they're using here. I'm suspecting that Swan Jing is using a slightly harder compound, hopefully try to get a longer stint out. But unfortunately, this leaves him very open to attack from other drivers who are using softer compounds. So I'm not sure if that's a case to be entirely fair here, because I can't actually see what their tire compound is. But certainly Swanjing's pace is certainly not up to par when you compare him against Hazik, who is chasing very closely behind him.
Hazik definitely going to be enjoying quite a bit of pressure here, but we are going to be looking at Kachun, and it seems that the penalties has been shaved off from him, and I think it was done in a relatively quick and efficient fashion.
I wouldn't say efficient because like Ridwan has already gone past him, so I think like him getting rid of that penalty there, or maybe making a mistake, as we saw before we cut away, probably has dropped him down. In fact, Wicked now is already up into P3. He's already setting himself on a podium position there. So man, oh man, I think Wicked is in a really good place here to try to take the championship lead.
Very, very good indeed for Wicked and his aspirations for gold here. But standing in his way is going to be Ridwan and Irwadi. So it is going to be very interesting to see whether or not Irwadi and Ridwan will be able to form a barrier against, Ridwan will form the barrier. But it seems that the space between Irwadi and Ridwan is definitely very, very big compared to the space between Ridwan and Wicked. So Wicked could actually create a few opportunities depending on the timing of the pit that's coming in for the top 3 for the first and second position. We do see that Kachun as well as Schwan right now are going to be fighting off against each other, and I do think that I do believe that we are going to be observing from the side of car number 47 in the form of Hazik right now, trying his best, level best to add a little bit of pressure here, but we do see that the space between them and these spots. Oh my goodness, and it seems that a little bit of a collision there has thrown Hazik off the course here, and you see the yellow flags have been waved off, but it seems that is going to be short-lived here, as he will be able to recover back onto the track.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it was a collision or maybe he spun out, stuttering out of the final corner, because again, the final 2 corners at the Red Bull Ring are actually quite high speed, so it can be very easy for you to lose your balance on the exit of the final quarter, especially if you're really trying to push for an early exit towards the straight. So I wouldn't be surprised if that was what happened to Hakim there, but definitely a bit of a shame there, because like he definitely got stranded for quite a long time, and that certainly has affected his positioning there. He's all the way down into P9 and pretty much out of it, I think, for the rest of this race.
And that's very interesting indeed here, as we are going to be watching for the side of Mior. He is going to try his level best to climb up as much as he can from position 7th position. But it seems that there is going to be penalties across here, with Mior experiencing a 0.9 second penalty, as well as Hakim in car number 17 with a 1.9 second penalty that is going to be rather detrimental in him holding on to his position. We'll try to We're trying to see whether or not he'll be able to shave off that penalty time efficiently, and it seems that Muir has been able to shave off at least 0.1 of the second away from his penalty time, and this little shaves off the penalty could actually pay quite a bit here, and it seems that the penalties are going to be shaved. The penalty time that Muir is going to be experiencing is going to be shaved off. So Hakim will have to shave off a little bit more time here. He has about 1.1 second of time to shave off, so he has to be very, very wary on those timings and where he wants to shave off those penalties here, and has to be very wary that he doesn't break at the wrong times to basically get himself on the wrong side of the rule books here today.
Yeah, so that's the kind of thing that some drivers who are new to the game of Gran Turismo Sport have to kind of learn. Is like the penalty system in this game is kind of unique compared to other games. So the thing is that you can shave off your penalty if you slow down your car a little bit more, and some drivers have found that it's a very good and efficient way to shave off time by braking a little bit harder earlier in the braking points, and that means that pretty much you don't have to compromise your racing line too much. You just have to slow yourself a little bit, and that if you can modulate that well, you can actually shave off 1 to 0.2 of a second off of your penalty time, and eventually eliminating completely, just like what Muir has done here in this race. Now, Swan Jing, though, has already climbed himself back up into P3, given that there's some drivers going into the pits there. He tried to make a move there against Kachun, and looks like Ghosting is actually active on this race here, which is kind of surprising, but Swan Jing definitely has used that to his advantage there to get into P2, and now he's going to be able to try to climb his way up here to try to maybe bring a fight here to Ridwan, but Ridwan is like 9 seconds ahead of him. So I think Swan Jing's game plan here is probably going to be to try and build as much of a gap as possible while he still has the pace in his hands.
Yeah, and that's definitely something that he has to take advantage of, as Kachun right now is trying to stay in pace with Schwan here, as we do see that Irwadi is also putting in quite a bit of pressure onto him, and it seems that the gap between Schwan as well as Kachun is getting bigger and bigger. We do see Touch Ayman right now, the winner, if I'm not mistaken, from the Laguna Seca race, is struggling in the middle of the pack here, and it seems that Wicked as well as Wicked is going to be putting in quite a bit of pressure onto him, and this could be very interesting indeed. As Touch Ayman there, I think he has almost lost another position here, as Wicked was able to take away position number 6 away from Touch Ayman.
I think Wicked was just basically flexing on Touch Ayman there, because Wicked, of course, had taken a pit stop there, so he's definitely running on a fresher set of tires. Touch Ayman, though, like, I think he stayed out on his stint quite a bit, so that's why he's struggling a little bit to try to keep up with Wicked there. So the thing is that for Touch, he really has to be able to keep up with Wicked in terms of pace, but unfortunately, I think by the time he goes to take his pit stop here, he will find himself quite lagging behind the current second place in the championship here, which is Loy Wicked. So Loy Wicked now, it looks like he's going to be trying to bring another fight here. This time he's going to be towards Muir, and perhaps also to join in that three-way battle that's now unfolding for P4. Meantime, though, in the front of the grid there, we are seeing Swan Jing facing a bit of pressure behind Irwadi, while Ridwan, our race leader, now is going into the pits to swap out his tires. So Irwadi now just attacking from the inside there, but Swan Jing will not give him any phase at all. He comes across the line still in first place. Irwadi is going to try again, coming into the next turn. He comes in alongside, just goes in deep into the line, and he will take P1 and away from Swan Jing.
And it's very interesting indeed here, as Irwadi will be able to steal it away, and we see a few of our racers right now looking into the pit and pulling into the pit here. Seems that they are going to be stopping in, and I think it was the bottom 3 of our sim racers that are putting in their time into the pit really early on, so it does allow them a little bit of space to cover more ground, and this could be very interesting indeed, as some of these lower three positions could actually create an opportunity for them to maybe overtake position number 6 and 7 in the form of Ridwan and Taj Ayman in cars number 37 and 90 respectively, Victor.
Yeah, so right now we're gonna be riding with Mior and Touch Aiman here. Like Mior, so far he hasn't quite done well in terms of race number one here, so he's definitely looking to try to make up some good points here in race number two. But so far that doesn't look like it has worked out well for him at all. He's still trailing behind Touch Aiman here. He's not doesn't seem to be able to close the gap quite yet, even though they both went in the pits at the same time. So I hope this is not indicative of some trouble from your side on being able to keep up pace. Meantime, Kanchun coming into the pits now. Let's see what tire compound he's going to be using coming out here. Is he going to be switching to the mediums, or is he going to be sticking with the softs? I think most drivers will probably stick with the softs and just go for a standard two-stop strategy here. Wicked in the meantime, though, he's slowly climbing himself up towards the front of the pack here. He's closing in a Swan Jing, and so it might be a matter of time here before we start to see Wicked make the moves and try to take another higher forward position, or maybe even try to fight for the win, because like that actually is quite a big possibility here given the amount of pace that Wicked is showing throughout this race.
And that's something that they have to be consistent about, the pacing of the entire race, as we are heading into our halfway mark. There are 12 laps left, and those first 12 laps just went by in a breeze, didn't it, Victor?
I mean, that's no surprise. The Red Bull Ring is so fast that a single lap is very, very quick. So that means that drivers pretty much will be coming across the line a lot, and Wicked is just using the opportunity here at the straight to try to get alongside Swan Jing. Can't quite find the inside going into turn one, but he's certainly setting himself up to try to take the inside going to turn two. They are still going to be coming in alongside Wicked, having a much better line here. It's going to be slightly ahead of Swan Jing before the breaking point, but again, Swan Jing is still going to be having the outside here going into the braking, but Wicked just closes it out. There's no way for Swanji to keep up there. Wicked takes P2 here with only on lap 13.
Sean and his attempts will be denied beautifully by Wicked, but how long can Wicked keep this up? Consistency is going to be on the menu here today as we are heading into our 13th lap, and sooner or later are going to be passing off towards our 14th lap. So it's going to be very interesting to see how many more laps can Wicked keep this up. We are going to be looking towards Touch Aiman in car number 90 right now, and it seems that it is going to be quite a big space between him and the fifth position, as Ridwan is looking to create as much space between himself. But also to note is the amount of space between Ridwan and positions number 4, 3, and 2, with Irwadi enjoying first place without much pressure. And I believe that that is going to create a very strong opportunity, a strong lead for Irwadi. And if he were to actually go into the pit at this particular time, we could actually not put his lead that much in threat. So I do in danger, excuse me. So that is going to be very interesting to see whether or not Irwadi will choose this time and this lead for him to be able to take on to actually go into the pit. We do see right now that Taj Aiman right now is slowly climbing back up into the ranks here and is in the middle of the pack. Ridwan is going to be in his view, but it seems that the space between him and Ridwan is very much far indeed, as Taj Aiman right now looking towards getting as much speed as he can, trying to push the Toyota TS030 hybrid to its absolute limits here at the Red Bull Ring at the Toyota Gazoo Racing Online Challenge.
So Touch Aiman's job right now is trying to make sure that he doesn't stay too far behind Wicked here, because again they're separated by 8 points in the championship. Sorry, 7 points in the championship. So the closer that he's going to be able to finish behind Wicked, the less of a chance that Wicked is going to be able to catch away the lead here from Touch Aiman. So it's frankly quite good to see that he's actually able to climb all the way up into I think it was a P4 or P5. So let's see if he's going to be able to climb up even further here. Maybe even a podium finish here will be the best case scenario here for Taj Aiman. In the meantime, though, Hazik, who is hasn't quite been shown on screen for quite a while here. He's been in P9 for quite a while. Unfortunately, I think like his spin out early on in the race there hasn't quite recovered from that. It looks like despite everything that's happened, he's in fact like quite far back the grid here as far as concerned. Mior, though, he hasn't been able to actually make any moves against Touch Ayman, so I'm not too sure if it's maybe a lack of pace, let's say a lack of familiarity with the track, which is contributing to a lack of pace, or maybe is it some other issues that he's facing here. But it's certainly been a bit of a shame to see that Muir is not actually able to keep up with some of the fast guys here in this tournament so far. In any case, Boykit coming into the pits, he's going to be switching out his medium tires here. So let's see what tire he's going to be using for this potentially another stint here that he's going to be going for hard tires to try to finish the rest of the race. I'm not sure if hard tires is going to be able to finish the entire stint here, but no, he's going to go straight for soft tires here to try to finish off the stint. So pretty much it's going to be a sprint until the end here for Boykit. But he's going to be coming out in P6, which is just behind Mior. So that's going to be an interesting field to watch here.
And it seems that the changing of positionings here for a lot of these races have created an atmosphere whereby we may see some of these positions switch hands relative towards the times that they choose to get into the pit. So remember, one pit stop is mandatory, but as predicted, coming in from my co-caster Victor, it seems that there is a possibility of 2 pit stops. There is definitely going to be a possibility of 2 pit stops here, and those are going to create opportunities. And depending on the timings of particular pits from some of these races, it is going to create opportunities for some of the lower position guys to actually come back in. Irwadi right now in position number 1 will be back into the pit, as well as Hakim into the pit as well. May they actually change tires, or will they stay within the soft compounds? We shall wait and see. As Ridwan right now holds on and moves past the pit stop here, as he is going to be holding on towards position number 1. And it seems that Irwadi is going to opt out for the medium compound tires, and Hakim in car number 17 is, I think, going to maintain with the soft compound tires heading in to our 17th lap of the race, Victor.
Yeah, so Touch Ayman is currently about 2 places ahead of Boykit. He's currently trying to fight against Irwadi to try to take P2 here, but you got to bear in mind it is probably going to be provisional at this point, because Touch Ayman has yet to go into the pits to get swapping out the other tires. Or maybe is he going to try to stick it out though, because Irwadi actually already has like a nice fresh set of tires here, it looks like. Touch Ayman though, I can't quite see what how his tire situation. Yeah, his tire situation is very, very low here. He probably would have to go into the pits at some point, but he's still able to try to keep up here with Irwadi, which is quite fascinating to see here, because Irwadi, again, using fresh tires, you'd think that he will have much higher pace here, but Taj Ayman is just literally driving the wheels off of that car, just keeping up right behind him, and is actually trying to fight him for that position when inevitably he has to go to the pits. In fact, he just skips the pit lane entirely. He's going to try to go forward to long run here on this stint.
Wow, Touch Ayman definitely pushing the vehicle to its entire limits here, as Irwadi is definitely feeling the pressure. And we do see that our fastest lap is still going to go, our fastest lap is going to go over towards Hakim in car number 17 with a time of 1 minute and 16 seconds thus far. We are going to be looking at position number 3 with Touch Ayman right now. Quite a bit of tire wear has been experienced here, and Irwadi will be able to enjoy quite a bit of a lead here, considering that Touch Ayman will have to consider the amount of wear on his tires moving forward here. We are heading into our 18th lap and about to head into our 19th lap of today. So I do believe that another pit stop could actually be in the books here for some of these races moving forward. However, we do see Touch Ayman right now looking towards just trying his level best to just keep up the pressure onto Irwadi. But we do see that the space between him and Irwadi is definitely closing by quite a bit. But it seems that considering, and it seems that there's going to be a penalty here on the side of Touch Ayman. It's a little bit too much off the track moving forward, and that is definitely going to add to the lead that Irwadi is going to enjoy here. But it seems that Touch Ayman gets second place for some reason.
I think someone in front that pitted just now. I can't see the leaderboard. Yeah, I think the reason why might have gone into the pits there, so that it's actually allowed Taj Ayman an inherent P2. So Wadi is still going to be in front of the pack here, and Taj Ayman, he's really taking a gamble here. I think if he really wants to try to run these tires to the end of the race here, it does mean that he will be very much open for attack by Mior and Boykit reaching the end here. So this is going to be an interesting thing to see. Is he still going to try to stay out on track here, or is he going to go into the pit stop? Because right now he's in a position where if he is somehow able to keep up his pace here, even though his tires are so worn out, he might actually be able to just suddenly, from the back of the pack, just literally take away the opportunity for Woikit to overtake him in the championship. But again, this is a very big gamble because it really depends on whether or not he can actually keep up the pace until the end of the race. We still have 5 more laps to go. There's still a lot of time for things to happen here. And Taj Ayman, nope, he's not going to the pits yet. He's still going to stay in P2.
And that's very interesting indeed here as we are going to be heading forward. We do see Wicked right now adding a little bit of pressure onto the side of Mir in car number 9 and position number 3. We do see Taj Ayman still holding on to that second position here as Mir right now looking towards getting that position Wicked looking towards getting Mir's position away from him, and we do see that the pressure that's coming in from Wicked is just relentless towards the side of Mir. And Mir right now trying his level best to stop and block the advance that's coming in from Wicked, but it seems that Wicked right now has his number here. Could be an opportunity for the side of Wicked to come in. And will we see it? No, it seems that Mior has been pushed off towards position number 4, and it seems that the relentlessness of Wicked has paid off in a big way here today at the Red Bull Ring as we head into lap number 20, Victor.
I think Wicked's pace was already quite high. I mean, we already saw that in the earlier stints from his. So I think like it was just a matter of him just finding the right opportunity where Mior left a door wide open there. He just slipped right through. I mean, there was basically no drama at all in that attack. But now Wicked is in a position now to try to bring opened up an opportunity for Wicked to try to fight against him, and there's a severe disadvantage on Taj Ayman's part because Wicked, his tires are much fresher. His pace is much better, so it's just going to be a question of whether or not Taj Ayman can successfully defend the next 3 laps.
Beautifully done here, coming in from Wicked, and it seems that Taj Ayman could be in a bit of trouble here as Wicked right now looking to thread the needle. Beautifully done here from left to right, and it seems that there is going to be an opportunity for Wicked to take it away from Taj Ayman, and Taj Ayman being left with us as Wicked advances into position number 2. Beautifully done from the side of Wicked, and Taj Ayman is definitely feeling the heat and the dust in his face as Wicked leaves him behind at position number 3 as Hakim is trailing behind of Taj Ayman.
Yeah, that gamble just did not pay off at all for Taj Ayman. So staying out there, has definitely compromised his pace in the end of it. Even though he is going to be able to finish in the top 5 here, I think that's going to open. He's still going to be very much open for a lot of attack here from some of the other drivers, particularly the guy who's in P4 right now. I can't quite see who is that. Yeah, Hakim. He's already creeped up right behind Taj Ayman, so Taj may be in danger of just continually slipping down the ranks here, and again just taking the inside line against Taj Ayman. Oh man, this is so torturous to see here. The gamble, it just really didn't pay off here for Taj Ayman.
Very, very, very painful indeed here for the side of Taj Ayman from position number 2, if I'm not mistaken, dropping down to position number 4. And it seems that all this business that's coming in from some of the opposition towards Taj Ayman is definitely putting his position in jeopardy here. Let's hope that he will be able to mitigate whatever shortcomings that he has faced in heading forward here to maintain position number 4. But we do see that the amount of tire wear that's coming in definitely playing a part in terms of his ability not only to just keep the speed but also stay gripped onto the track here as we are moving forward. We do see that there are 2 more laps today, Victor, and it seems that as we look at it, there is no place for complacency for some of the sim races as we are heading into our final few laps.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, like, just you are on top of the world right now. If you haven't gone